All right, I like to take notes, so if you see me look down and write shit down,
No.
don't be
by all
offended,
means.
hopefully.
I'm gonna let you lead this because I hate this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I feel like you're so good at telling a story, though. And like,
I know, it's just, I feel like part of why I haven't is I never wanted the focus to be on me, like, and make it seem like that any of this was self-serving. So like I always wanted the focus to be on everybody else and mostly on him.
Yeah.
So that's why I've kind of avoided, and I don't like doing it either, but that's part of it
I
too.
feel like that's the perfect way to start.
I know.
You
Well,
know? Here we are.
I know, here we are.
And you say you don't want any of the personal attention, but I'm here with Jesse Gerhard. You are the, like, what I say, founder?
Founder, president, kind of janitor, everything in between.
Of the Jesse Gerhard
Yeah.
Memorial Foundation.
Correct.
So just give us a quick background. There's a lot of press and things out there that talk about the story and I guess why and how this organization was created. But just for anyone who's watching now, to give
Sure.
like a quick, brief introduction on why the Jesse Gerhard Memorial Foundation exists and how and when you started it.
Sure. So, unfortunately, my younger brother, Jesse Gerhard, who was a FDNY firefighter, passed away back in February of 2022 in the line of duty. You know, the worst day of our lives. So that remaining, you know, ever since has been difficult. And I never intended to start a foundation or grow this to anything really more than get a couple guys from his firehouse to go out and play golf one day. And, you know, I was like, hey, I play a lot of golf. Maybe I'll get some of the guys from the big house, which is his FDNY house, and then from his volunteer house in Islip to just go out and have a day, kind of celebrate him, something a little bit more lighthearted than a lot of the stuff that we were going to that year. You know, there was a lot of memorials, a lot of plaque dedications and things that were very somber. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to do something that was a little bit more uplifting, more celebratory of him than the more dramatic, sad kind of aspect that we were going through all that year. And I wasn't sleeping, so I needed somewhere to kind of put my attention and energy. So we booked the golf outing, and it sold out in 30 seconds. And I was like scrambling. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like half his house didn't even get in. You know, I don't know what to do at this point. We called any golf course on Long Island to try and see if they could accommodate. And no one had time because it was late in the year. We kind of did this in a month's notice. And we called the course and they were like, hey, you can try and run like a morning tee time and do like a morning outing and an afternoon outing. They're like, no one really ever has success with the morning group sticking around till dinner, so we can kind of scale it down for the dinner side of it. And, you know, we contemplated whether or not we wanted to do it. And there was enough people that were trying to get in from his firehouses alone and family friends that we were like, all right, let's give it a shot. And we put that out. That sold out again in like, you know, another 30 seconds or 5 minutes from when we launched it. And then we started calling around for vendors and things of that nature for the outing. And they asked if we were a charity. And we never really thought about it before that. Mm. And then, you know, we sat down with my parents, my wife, and we kind of saw that there was something good that could come from this and that we were going to be in a position to be able to help other people in a similar situation or in distress that might not have somebody to lean on. So we started the foundation that year and the outing went off amazingly. Like it was, you know, 400 guys went out and played golf. We had probably 600 or 700 people at the venue that day. And everything went great and we were able to raise some really good money for, at that point we were donating it to other charities because we weren't really sure what our direction was going to be. And then we kind of honed in and saw who we wanted to help and who we felt resonated the best with Jesse. And that's kind of how the foundation started. And then since then it's kind of exploded. So the golf outing is definitely our biggest event of the year. This year we have 2 courses, 4 tee times. We have a 100-team cornhole tournament that goes on the premise, and then just a million other activities and events for people to kind of come down to. So whether people golf or not, we're finding people coming down, you know, more so than they would at like a normal golf outing. Like this is more of like a festival or an event than just a golf outing. And since then, I mean, last year alone, we donated over $100,000 to the families of first responders. So whether it was line of duty deaths or the ones that we saw that really needed it were first responders who passed away not in the line of duty. It could have been a car accident, it could have been cancer, it could have been a bunch of other things. And at that point, they're kind of left, their families are left scrambling. Like, you know, line of duty deaths, there's line of duty benefits, there's the insurance policies, there's a lot of things that come to a widow or a grieving family afterwards to kind of help with some of those expenses. And for people non-line of duty, there's really nothing. So that's where we saw we could step in immediately, you know, and being that we were doing it so frequently, unfortunately, we became like one of the top calls that the FDNY makes after something happens to see if we can help out in any way. So a lot of pressure got put on us in that aspect because we wanted to make sure that we were doing enough and raising enough money that we could help all these families that do need it. And it could be anything from a death, a family member of theirs going through some type of medical procedure or cancer, a spouse passing away and then them kind of being left without being able to work because of kids, that we wanted to be able to step in right away, immediately, you know, day of, day after, and be able to help them even in a small way. So that's really where the foundation has put a lot of its focus and why we put so much energy into it, because we went through it, unfortunately. We saw what it was like. Jesse didn't have a wife and kids, so there wasn't mouths to feed sitting at home. But we saw a friend of his pass away later that year, also FDNY, who had 2 little kids and a wife at home, and we saw the struggles that they went through. And we were able to step in and help them out, and then that kind of sprungboard it to where we're at today.
I can imagine what those struggles are, but until you go through it or experience it, you obviously don't fully understand. So if you're able to, or you don't mind, what is that day like? What's that or that week like afterwards?
Honestly, after everything was a blur. Like, it's the worst phone call you could ever get. You know, we were in bed at night. We got a phone call from my parents saying that there was an accident at work, really didn't have any information, and they were like, they're sending a car service. And got in my car immediately. I drove to their house. I'm like, all right, let's go, I'll drive. They were like, no, we're gonna wait. I'm like, forget that, I'm going. And they're like, well, we don't even know where we're going yet. I'm like, I have 45 minutes drive to figure this out. At some point between here and getting there, I'll figure it out. And when we, you know, other friends in law enforcement and the fire department, I was able to get in touch with them. They were like, go to this hospital. And went there, and that's when, at the time, the fire commissioner was there. She was the one that met me at the door and kind of broke the news. And like, honestly, for the next year, it was just a blur. Like, you can't, I mean, I've never experienced anything like that before. Never really. I've been lucky enough that I haven't really lost anyone that close. And when that happened, I mean, life kind of like stopped. You know, it was a whirlwind of emotion. And then, you know, there's so much spotlight that was on his, because he was line of duty. It was all over the news. It was all over social media. You know, my phone, I don't think I looked at my phone for 2 weeks afterwards, because there were so many messages that I just couldn't comprehend, couldn't believe that it was still real. And then with that, there's so many things that both fire departments, his city house and his volunteer house, did as tributes and ceremonies and Memorial Day and plaque dedication, that you're kind of being shuffled around. And even though it's meant to be something positive for him and remembering him, it was kind of like, you know, cutting that wound open over and over and over and over again. That whole
picking
year.
the scab, and right before it heals.
Exactly. Like, you kind of get some clarity back, and then all of a sudden you're right back there to the day of again, you know. And it was weird. It was like it prolonged everything for so much longer than I think maybe losing someone normally would, because it was constantly kind of reliving it over and over and over again.
So what are some of the things that maybe a family who you guys have supported and will continue to support with the foundation, what are some of the things that in that whirlwind of a week, a month, a year, however long that process takes, that they're being supported by you guys? Like, what are you helping them with? What are some of the things that maybe the average person's not thinking of? Obviously, we're thinking bills, we're thinking, you know, like family support and just helping them, like maybe travel. Like, what are the things that you guys are helping them with?
So it's different for every family, and every situation is a little different. You know, with line of duty, like, there is things in place to kind of help those families out, but it's not immediate. So whether, you know, like, for anything to really kick in, like, we were waiting almost a year for my brother's autopsy report. That could be for other reasons too, but it's typical that it takes months and months for any of that kind of stuff to kick in, and then these families, a wife not able to go back to work because she's got little kids at home. Yes, the funeral expenses and those big ticket things are typically taken care of, but it's who's putting food on the table, who's paying for, the transportation, the babysitters. There's so much stuff that kind of comes into play during that, where there's obligations of that spouse or that family member or those parents that they do need help, and they need help now, not a year down the road. So we were kind of able to step in and kind of pick some of those things up. For non-line of duty stuff, you have the funeral expenses, you have family that want to come from out of town and have no place to stay, where we can kind of take care of hotel accommodations or buses and transportation to and from the funeral. I mean, it's every situation is different, and we just hope that the little bit that we can contribute can make it a little easier for them during those times. And it's not always a death situation. Sometimes there's a member that has a child who has some type of disease, and they're out of work because of all the doctor's appointments and all the stress of being at the hospital with them, that we're able to kind of step in. And maybe it's a mortgage payment, maybe it's a car payments, anything. It's food on the table. We want to help them in any way that they feel that it can help them.
I would imagine that someone in that situation maybe doesn't want to ask for help. How do you find the people who need help, and how do you make yourselves available to those out there who maybe need help but don't know who to ask or don't know where to turn?
That's 100% the case. And, especially these guys or guys and girls in this first responder world, like they're not the type of people that ask for help. They're the type of people that give help. So what we noticed, especially the first year, like people weren't asking. We were kind of actively pursuing them, where we would hear about it through people either in his firehouse or on social media. And there's programs set up through the FDNY, like the Family Assistance Unit, that deals with the families of members or spouses, like after some type of tragedy. We could reach out to them and say, hey, like, what can we do for them? And in the beginning, a lot of people still weren't responding, that we would actually then get in touch with their firehouses and say, hey, look, like, we know this just happened. We don't want to put any more stress on that person. We don't want any recognition for it. We're just going to cut a check to the firehouse, and then you guys can be the ones to help in any way that you guys see fit. And that's really more common than the other way, where right afterwards, like, no one wants cameras in their faces. No one wants the random strangers coming in and dropping checks off. So like we want to just be able to make the donation and move on, in so to speak. And what we started getting from that was people who come to our events and do it there, like, well, who have you guys donated to so far? And it was always a tricky question, because like at that point, like the last thing you want to do is ask a grieving family, like, hey, can we take a picture of us giving you a check? And it's not what we want at all, but it's something that kind of in some ways is necessary, because the people that are making all these donations do want to see where it's going. So again, that's where we were able to kind of step in with the firehouses, and we would invite the firehouse to a central meeting place, and we would make a donation to the firehouse.
Yeah, be the representative.
Take a picture with
for the
them.
family.
They would be the ones accepting it on the family's behalf. And we've had families ask, like, hey, please don't disclose that you guys gave us a donation or money. Like, it's weird. It's not something that anyone wants to go through, obviously, but they also don't want to make it seem like, they're getting money and things from other places because of their tragedy that they just went through.
There's pride involved, I'm sure, and they maybe feel some shame for needing help, even though obviously you shouldn't.
Exactly.
In a situation like that, that's when you lean on community. That's when you lean on other people. So yeah, I think that's a common theme in the things that we're discussing. Why I'm glad that you're here to tell the story and talk about the impact that you guys are making, because you even opened this up by saying, I don't want this to be about me. Right? Yeah. It's not about you. It's about the organization, what you guys have built, and who you're able to support, and the impact that you're able to make. But then you have the challenge of people, you're kind of at that inflection point of like, in order to make the larger amount of impact that we want to make, we kind of have to publicize the tragedy. And that's the opposite of what you want to do.
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about some specific impact that you've had on maybe a family without disclosing names or information about that family, but just like an exact, like, this family went through this type of tragedy. We raised X amount of money throughout the year, and we were able to help them with this.
I mean, it's hard to go into specifics because it kind of almost does single them out with like the
People would be
situation.
able to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, we're the brotherhood through first responders, whether it's the FDNY or the volunteer community, is unlike anything anyone can really imagine. Like the support that my family was given from the first responder community, you know, our hometown, like there's nothing like it. And I pray people don't ever have to experience it, but it it's comforting to know that like in times of need, there are people that are there to step up and kind of help you out. And my brother's firehouse, one of the guys in his firehouse actually started a foundation himself, more geared towards 9/11 survivors and cancer and guys that are going through struggles still to this day from those tragedies back in 2001. And he does a run from Long Beach to the World Trade Center on 9/11. It's 34.3 miles to represent the 343 firefighters that died that day. And I work very closely with him with a lot of the donations because he is FDNY. He's in that world. He's one of the first to hear about a lot of things. And unfortunately, a friend of his passed away off the line of duty. He was the one that actually kind of found him. And he didn't have family up here. He was living up here by himself. And the family was scrambling. How are we going to get up there? Where are we going to stay when we get there? So we were able to organize a foundation or a donation for him between the two charities where family members were able to come up and not worry about those minute things like where are we going to stay, what are we going to eat. We were able to provide food, we were able to provide hotels, we were able to provide transportation from the hotel to the funeral home and back, and it was just like one less stress for that family to be able to cope and go through, you know, like it was for us the worst day of our lives.
You said that you raised like over $100,000 last year.
So we raised more than that, but we did over 100,000 in donations last year.
That's fantastic. Let's say tomorrow you had $1 million or you had 10 million. What kind of impact would you be able to make with that scale of money? 10 times, 100 times the amount that you raised in donations.
It's hard to say. You know, like there's been years where there's been a drastic need for it. And unfortunately, the reason that there's drastic need is terrible things happen, whether it's line of duty deaths or things off the job that happen. Some years it's not as crazy, thankfully. We just want to know that like we're never going to have to turn anyone away, whether they're asking for our help or we're seeking out to help, that we can write that next check. So I don't think that there's a specific dollar amount. We're going to do as much as we can with the reach that we have to just try and help anyone we can when they might need that help.
So how does it work? And if this is not appropriate, we can completely cut this out. Do you have like a piggy bank, basically, of donations throughout the year? Because I've never run a nonprofit or understand how that works. So, like, I know when it comes to certain nonprofit organizations, you have to use the money.
Yeah.
So how does that work if, let's say, thankfully, there's not a ton of need for you in a year? Would you just hold on to that money and use it for some type of charity, or do you donate to other charities?
Yeah, so that's really kind of like, I don't want to call it a loophole, but like where every charity is set up for a specific mission statement and kind of direction that charity is looking to help people with. And like you said, like luckily, you know, there's been times where maybe our direct focus isn't in desperate need of it, which is a good thing. There are other amazing charities that have supported us throughout the years that we want to also support that have a different direction, and there's different people that they're able to help. So if they're running an event or they're having a golf outing or a gala or whatever, we're able to make a nice sizable donation to them, knowing that the money that we're donating to them is also going to a great cause, whether it's still first responder related, children's hospitals, veterans. Like there's always people in need. And through this, we've grown a lot of relationships with other foundations that we're able to kind of support them.
You mentioned 34.3. What are some of those other foundations?
34.3, which is a member for my brother's firehouse. Another foundation that was kind of instrumental for getting us to where we were because they've already been there was the Johnny Mack Foundation.
Okay.
His wife started a foundation about 15 years ago after her husband passed away from 9/11 cancer. And she kind of guided me in what to do and how to set this up and what to go after. and how to do donations and what to look out for and what to kind of point our reach towards. So she was amazing in helping us. One of my brother's good friends passed away 10 months to the day from the day he passed. Also FDNY, also an Islip firefighter. His wife, Christina, started the Billy Moon Foundation, and they're heavily focused on organ donations.
Okay.
So she's had a tremendous impact in that world. And like we bounce ideas off of each other all the time and support each other in any way that we can, because our reaches are, or our directions are they're aligned, but they're also in two completely different worlds that we can kind of help one another out. Hooks for Heroes is an amazing foundation. It's a member who started this to help not only firefighters, but police officers, veterans, where they will take the firehouse out, the family out on a fishing charter just for like a day of relaxation, not where it's again, so like memorial focused, where it's like a downer, just a day to kind of get your mind clear. And you know, they were able to support us. I never met him before him reaching out, and you know, they took some of the guys from both of my brother's firehouses and our family out on a fishing boat one day, and it was amazing. And it was a nice day, able to celebrate Jesse and not have any of the stress that goes along with normally, like when we get together.
Putting on a suit and tie and
Yeah,
showing up at
exactly.
the place for the dedication. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about the story itself, the impact that you've made so far, but this show is called On the Way, right? You guys are very clearly on the way somewhere. Mm-hmm. Everyone's on some type of journey, and you guys seem to be somewhat early in your journey, even though you've made tremendous impact early on. Where are you going? What is the ultimate goal?
So for
if you have one.
Yeah, so for me it's a little different. So, you know, what I've noticed in this is a lot of, whether it's foundations or donors, everybody's kind of worried about the money in a lot of ways. And that's like the last thing I worry about. Like, I don't do this solely for raising money. I do it more for keeping Jesse's memory alive. So for me, that's more important in a lot of ways. It's great that we're able to help, and I have a great group of people surrounding me that can make those things happen. But like for me, it's making sure people still talk about them. You know, like when someone passes, there's so much emotion, there's so much support immediately after, and you know, not to say it like coldly, but like people move on. You know, and they're able to, and it's a good thing that they are. For us, like, we're never going to move on. Like losing somebody that close, like you think about him every day. You think about him multiple times a day. You know, he was the best man at my wedding. He's my oldest child's godfather. Like there's no replacing him. There's no moving on. And to be able to do these things where we know that his friends, his family, and people that he impacted in his life are able to come together and celebrate him. And then through our efforts, we've even grown that circle. So it's people who maybe didn't know him then will know his name, will know kind of what his life goals were and the way that he operated, where he was always helping others. Like it was just who he was, you know, whether it was building a deck in someone's backyard or helping them at their house. Like he was an amazing carpenter, like a jack of all trades. It didn't matter what it was. Someone asked for help, he found a way to make it happen, and he was there. And that's kind of what we're doing. Like we're trying to be a jack of all trades and be able to impact as many people as we can through the legacy that he kind of built. That's
really cool. Not something I prepared for.
Yeah.
And something that, this is also something that I didn't prepare. How does the day, you know, the golf outing specifically, or the events that you run, how does it keep that memory alive? How does it reflect maybe his personality and his loves and the things that Jesse was really into? Yeah,
so Jesse, kind of, I guess, how I didn't want to be the center of attention here, he never liked to be the center of attention. So I think in a lot of ways, like, he'd be like, what the heck are you guys doing? Like, focus on somebody else. Like, he wouldn't like that aspect of it. But Jesse liked to party, he liked to be around his friends. So like that day, everybody kind of coming out and having a good time in his honor, like I think he would appreciate that. I think one of the things that's kind of very Jesse is, so we have shotgun starts at the golf outing where like everybody is about to go out and play golf. So one of the things that we do is we actually do a literal shotgun start where we've got 300 or 400 guys lined up at the tee box at hole one, holding a Bud Light, shotgunning a beer before they go out. It was like the most Jesse thing that we could do. and it's cool to be able to watch back some of the footage from previous years and just seeing the smiles on everybody's faces and knowing that they're there because of him, you know, and what he's done in his life and who he's been able to impact, that whether it's high school friends or people that he's met through his travels, because he went abroad, he did a bunch of stuff through the firehouse in that community, which is insane by itself, you know, like all these different people that he was able to impact that come out to celebrate him. And I think that's pretty cool on the day of. And then just seeing everybody have a good time, because like I said, like a lot of when we're around those guys, it's because it was a funeral or a plaque dedication, a memorial or a retirement or anything that's kind of like not necessarily like the most upbeat situation. Where that day, seeing like all those guys who go through this on a daily basis, where they, you know, they lost 6 firefighters in less than 6 weeks. You know, these guys were running from funeral to funeral to funeral. They were dealing with this, and this is what they deal with on a daily basis. They're usually at your house because it's the worst day of your life, and that's every day of theirs. So to be able to see these guys be able to kind of cut loose, have smiles on their faces, and kind of enjoy the day, is as much as it's for the foundation and it's for Jesse, it's for these guys too. It's kind of our way of giving back a little bit and letting these guys, you know, have a day.
That's awesome. It's on the hat.
Yeah.
Work hard, play hard, get hard.
Yeah. So
It's a cool slogan, I guess.
it was, I mean, honestly, it was not anything that we coined. I can't take credit for it. One of his senior men at his FDNY house actually said that during his eulogy at the wake. And even then, like, the room kind of all got like a smile and a chuckle out of it, because it was so Jesse. You know, when he was at work, it's all he focused on. It's all he ever wanted to be, was a firefighter. So like from 2 years old to his passing, like there was never a plan B. It was always, this is what he's doing. And he put in more work than I ever would have to reach a goal like that, to achieve it. And he did. And then, you know, when he was not on the job, he was everywhere. He never said no. Whether it was going to a football game, a trip down to Miami, snowboarding, he was there. So he worked hard, but he played hard too. So it was definitely very fitting for him.
Cool. I want to break this into 2 parts. What can a sponsor who gets involved with this event expect to see or to be a part of during the day of? Because I know that's something that tremendously helps you guys.
Yeah. Sponsors are tough, and a lot of the sponsors that we have are people that were close to either myself or Jesse prior to, and then there's been a lot that have kind of come on. And one thing that I do pride ourselves on is any of the sponsors that were there year 1, were there year 2, were there year 3, were there year 4. So we try to make sure that as much as they're helping us out, if there's any way that we can help them out either that day of or afterwards, whether it's promoting them on social media, whether it's, you know, passing them along to people asking for you know, an auto body place, or what's a good place to get pizzas, what's a good place to go for IVs, like anyone that's been able to support us, like we're always trying to push business towards them to kind of help them grow as well, because they've been instrumental in getting us to where we are now.
And then on the flip side, what can a person who maybe is just hearing about this for the first time expect out of this day? I think that's one of the big things that I want to get across.
Yeah, I think
how different this is.
The day of is a struggle for us, and it's something that we haven't really been able to kind of hammer down how to describe it. Because there's a million golf outings, and I've played in a million of them, and there's nothing like this event. And it's a testament to him and how much support he gets. But like we run. It started out as one group of guys going out, which exploded immediately into 2 full, packed out, tripled up on every hole foursomes that went out. 300 golfers or 400 golfers the first year, to now we're anticipating over 600 this year, plus over 1,000 at the event. And there's no downtime. We know that there's a lot of people. We want to keep everybody involved from 6 a.m. when a lot of these guys show up till 11:30 p.m. at night. And there's something going on the entire time. We have food trucks that are included. We have bars and restaurants that come down and set up drink stations or taco stands. We've got blackjack tables throughout the golf course. We've got a casino set up at the home base. We've got a live band, 100-team cornhole tournament, usually over 150 or 160 raffles in the room. We've got DJs. We've got camera teams out kind of grabbing images and video of the entire day. Last year we had a company, Shot Fun Shotguns, which is these like super soaker looking shotguns that will crack a beer and let you shotgun it. We had 50 of those throughout the course. Shot girls everywhere. Like, it's just a non-stop kind of event from 6 a.m. to midnight almost.
Yeah, you called it a festival.
Yeah,
I think that's really fitting.
I think we're trying to figure out what that right name for it is, because it's not like anything else. Like, most golf outings, people go and golf, and a lot of times people leave right thereafter. When people ask me, like, hey, what tee time do you think I should do? I'm like, well, golf's kind of like an afterthought. Play early in the morning, get it out of the way, and then come back and enjoy, like, the real event, which is, everything else non-golf related that goes on during that day.
Yeah, it's like a big carnival.
Yeah.
A big festival for the day.
Yeah.
How do people get involved? How can they donate directly, purchase a ticket to either golf or just attend the event? What's the best way to get in touch and figure that stuff out?
Because a lot of it runs through me, and like most of it comes through our social media channel. I mean, we have a website for the golf outing, which is jessegerhardgolfouting.com. So they're able to book foursomes, cornhole teams, dinner only. Any of the sponsorship packages are all listed on there. Donations can be made directly through the website. We really don't limit it. If they're at all interested in anything, I just encourage them to reach out, either email or social media, and we'll make sure to address it.
Beautiful. My ending question is always the same, and it is, because we don't have, we're not a giant podcast out there in the world, but we do have a really tight network of people that like to help each other. And I have a lot of business owner friends and people in my network that are always looking for ways to connect the dots for others. And so my ask at the end of every podcast is, what's something that you need help with that someone who's watching can help you with? Whether it's putting you in touch with the big sponsor or the person that you want to meet, or simply making a donation, because that's how they can make the most impact.
I think honestly, just word of mouth is like the thing that we're looking for the most. Like, if once people hear about it and they're able to take a look at some of the stuff that we've done in the past, whether it's videos of last year's events or stuff that we have upcoming, like just broadening our reach. We're very specific to a community with the first responders and the local towns, that anything outside of that. And it's not that we're looking for this Fortune 500 sponsor, which would be great, but anybody. I mean, we've had local pizza places contribute and have a massive impact on the foundation and what we've been able to do, whether it's providing food for some of these families or things like that. There's really no target audience. It's anybody who is interested in getting involved, interested in coming down and having a great day, because it has worked out to be an amazing day year after year. Whether they're a golfer, whether they play cornhole, whether they just want to come down and enjoy 1,000,001 drinks, because there's stuff everywhere. Like it's just a day that really anybody of any demographic can come down and have a great time. And by coming down, we're able to kind of use that to help others when they need it.
Awesome. Is there anything that like maybe I missed that you think is important to mention?
I don't know. I mean, there's so much. I mean, I think like talking about Jesse is definitely the most important part for me, and letting people know that the impact that he's had obviously has made such a direct impact on me. Like prior to this, like I had no involvement in this world at all through the fire department. Like that was his job. I had my job, my family. Like, and when we saw each other, we talked about other things. Being kind of brought into this world and seeing what these guys go through day in and day out, it gave me a total new respect for what he was doing while he was here, and how impactful every day on the job for those guys is for other people.
I mean, you mentioned it at the beginning. I even wrote it down. The brotherhood through that first responder community is so incredibly tight and immense. It's like something you never experienced before.
No, and like to try and look at the positives or some of the things that have come out of this. Like I didn't know a single guy in his firehouse before this. I went down to Long Beach one night and hung out with like maybe 2 guys that he was friends with out there. Since then, I get 30 or 40 texts a week from guys from his firehouse, whether they're checking in, asking to go to some other event, another golf outing, a concert, a comedy club. So we've gained a whole new like world of people in our lives.
It's a whole community.
Yeah.
That's formed around you and around this.
They step up in every way, and you see it not just with my family, but whether it's people in their firehouse. I mean, once you kind of put that shield on, like it's unlike anything else.
Yeah.
Like they're there for everything, and it's not one of those things that they're just there in the immediacy afterwards. We're coming up 3.5 years down the road, and it hasn't lessened in any way. They're still very, very actively involved. Whether it's text messages saying happy birthday or happy Father's Day or Merry Christmas, like they're involved every day in some way. And both firehouses did amazing tributes at the firehouse with plaques and dedications that, there's a lot of turnover in that world, and guys go from house to house. Like, so all these new guys coming in and being able to see Jesse's helmet and jacket and have the older guys kind of teach them a little bit about who Jesse was and why his stuff is hung up is really cool to see.
It's great. Plug the websites and the socials one more time, and the best way to get in touch with you. That way people have it all in one spot.
Yeah, so the golf outing website is www.jessegerhardgolfouting.com. Social media is at Jesse Gerhard Memorial on Instagram and Facebook. And if anybody's interested, the email is jessegerhardmemorial@gmail.com. So any of those, I'm the one monitoring it and actively responding, so I'd be happy to hear from them.
Awesome. Thank you for coming on, sharing the story, and I hope maybe this reaches one of the right people out there to help you.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
You got it, dude. Cool.